Good afternoon. We want to bring you live to Pickens County right now, where leaders are sharing an update. Let's go ahead and listen in.
For 5 days now have been really unprecedented here in Pickens County. Pickens County went into a state of emergency on Thursday afternoon at 5 p.m. in order for us to go ahead and mobilize to ask for some state resources as well to bring into our community so that we could be prepared for when the remnants of Hurricane Helene made mountainfall, I guess I should say, in our community. That happened early in the morning on Friday. And many of us experienced something we thought we would never see, which were tropical storm force winds hitting us here in the mountains of South Carolina, at South Carolina's highest point in our beautiful state. Glad to come to you today with some news, some updates, some good news, also some challenges that we're still facing. But I'm very happy to be joined here with the following folks representing local assets as well as state assets that have come in to help Pickens County, given our unique topography, our unique challenges. We knew that we would need these assets, and we're very thankful. So I'm proud to introduce Thomas McNeil, who is the Dorchester County Emergency Manager. He's here under the auspices of the South Carolina Emergency Management Department. You'll see Mr. McNeil right there to my right. Sarah Custer, who is the Emergency Manager for Clemson University. We appreciate having her here. Obviously, Clemson University and their assets, their talent has been integral to us as we've gone through these challenges the last few days. Denise Kwiatek, who is Pickens County's emergency manager, is here with me, as well as Billy Gibson, Pickens County Emergency Services Chief. And we also are very proud to have Major Brian Garral with the South Carolina National Guard here as well. They've been integral in our response. The good news right off the bat is in Pickens County, we are not aware at this point of any fatalities or even major injuries. So Pickens County at this point has been able to get through it relatively unscathed from a human safety standpoint, and that's a very important thing. We haven't been as fortunate in terms of the property damage, the damages to our natural features, and we'll talk some more about those damages to our infrastructure. But the most important thing is the most important thing, and that is our Pickens County residents have been safe. They've used good common sense. Our emergency response has been effective, and we're very proud to say that we have come through without any loss of a life or major injury. We know that's not true elsewhere in South Carolina, and we certainly know it's not true in North Carolina. So we're mindful of all those folks. The last numbers I saw, and you may have seen different numbers, is that 29 people have lost their lives at the latest report in South Carolina alone. And so our thoughts and our prayers are with those people. As we face our challenges, we know that they're also adding to their challenges with some grieving. That being said, we know that just one of the major impacts that we've felt here has been the loss of electrical power. We think probably at some point or another, potentially 60% of the addresses in Pickens County had no power. We know that Duke Energy, Blue Ridge Electric Cooperative, easily combined utilities have been working diligently since then, and I'm sure y'all have seen a lot of information from those entities about how they have responded and how they brought in assets from around the southeast to try to address it. We had to evacuate about 20 of our residents from the Laurel and Hardy and Shady Grove communities due to flooding. So those folks have been evacuated and placed in shelters that are safe while the flooding was ongoing. That presented unique challenges, but we felt like we responded there as well as we could. 105 county roads have been impacted. That's county roads. That's not counting municipal streets. That's not counting state highways. 105 roads at some point have been closed, and that number is actually growing. And I'll tell you why that number is growing. It's because one of our partners that has been so effective in this process is the South Carolina Task Force 1, which is here under the auspices of the South Carolina Fire Academy. Those folks have been working diligently and relatively independently. They come in and check in with us, and then they go out and just do what needs to be done. And when they've gone out and done that, we've discovered later that, oh wait, those were roads we didn't have on our list. They would see the roads and they would address them. So that number is going to rise. It's going to be up in the 130 roads, we think, before all is said and done. There's probably a dozen or more county roads that are still closed now, but the reason they're closed is they have what we think are active power lines still on them. So we would caution the public to still try to be very cautious when they see those power lines. It's easy to get comfortable and used to seeing the power lines over the course of many hours and days, and people might start thinking they're going to do things themselves. So we'd caution them not to do that. A good 13 or 12 or 13 of our own roads we're still hesitating to get onto until the relevant power company can come and make sure that those lines are grounded out. We have 25 of our residents in Pickens County currently utilizing shelters, and those folks are being cared for to the best of our abilities. We do have limited critical resources in some areas, particularly food and gas. We have seen some demands on those that have outstretched either the commercial availability. We've seen grocery stores close, convenience stores run out of gas. So we've seen some of that, but we feel like we've turned the corner on that, and so we want to reassure the public about that regular supply chain issues around this country are still healthy and still working, and so they should not feel undue panic about that, other than just momentary panics at momentary gas stations, things like that. Otherwise, we think we are riding through that storm well. We do notice that many of our local businesses are struggling with cash only right now. And that's because either the lack of availability of power or lack of availability of internet for them to use their debit machines. So there is a lot of cash-only transactions going on in the county right now. But again, these inconveniences are something that we feel that we're meeting those challenges, that we're doing well. And we're again reminded of how fortunate we are in Pickens County that there's been no loss of life. In terms of our response, I do have some updates to give you. We've now established, I believe effective this morning, points of distribution for much needed supplies. Those points of distribution for water and for meals ready to eat for folks that might need them are at the Dacusville Fire Department, the Pickens County Building Maintenance Complex, and at Clemson University. They're open daily from 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. So we recommend that to any of our citizens that might need those services. Those are staffed and ready, and when you come up, we'll ask for some biographical information. We're collecting that because we need to do that for potential reimbursements from federal sources. So we need to get good data, but people are encouraged to give us that data. We're not trying to invade anyone's privacy, but we do need to gather that information so that we can report accurately what work that our folks are doing. If you have storm damage on your property, and it's impacted the value of your property, I want to make sure I get this specifically right because I got it wrong not long ago on an online source. I got it wrong. If your property has been impacted and you think it's affected the value of your property, you can contact the Pickens County Assessor's Office at 864-898-5872 or by emailing assessorhelpdesk@pickenscountysc.gov. Let's see, I may have... No, I don't. That's the storm damage slide. So you can do that, and if you do that, what that would trigger is us to reevaluate your property for its assessment next year. So that's something that people should consider if they're looking at property damage that they think may have impacted the value of their property. I would also tell you that a pet-friendly shelter has been operating throughout this event here in Pickens County at Glenwood Baptist Church. You can contact those folks at Glenwood. They're at 325 Sackle Road in Easley. This facility is staffed, and I believe it's under the auspices of the Red Cross, so that's where they are set up and working. Charging stations have been made available throughout the county from different private sources, but we can tell you the ones that we definitely know about at 5 Point Church, Pickens Recreation Center, Liberty Recreation Center, and Easley Fire Station 2. Particularly those last three there. 5 Point Church, we really appreciate what they're doing, but those last three shows you some evidence of our municipalities responding as well, because those are all municipal facilities, so we're very excited to see them do that. One of the things that we're announcing today, and one of the reasons that we're so excited all of you are here, is because we want to stress to the public our non-emergency call center. We stood up a non-emergency call center, and if you would like, you can get some photos or video right next door where that call center is going. It's 864-774-9743. The idea of this call center is that we're taking the stress off of our emergency operations center, off of our 911 system. If you have regular questions, like you need to report something, a traffic condition that you're experiencing, if you have questions about county government's ability to adapt, if you need to request assistance, any sort of general question you have that's non-emergent in nature, we want to encourage the public to use this non-emergency call center. It will be staffed Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. to answer all of your storm-related questions. And I will tell you, just as a little bit of local cover, by far the questions that we're getting right now is folks worrying about their convenience at the recycling centers. Our recycling centers are so popular in Pickens County, which is a wonderful part of our community. Folks out there, the minute it stopped raining, they started trying to figure out a way to get that unwanted brush out of their property and into our hands. So we would encourage them to keep calling in. We can give them a good shorthand view of what they need to do to make sure that they get their any spoiled food, any other type of debris that they need to. We can give them good advice on that at our non-emergency call center. This morning I had the benefit, along with several of the people here representing our Emergency Operations Center, to take a aerial survey flight that was provided to us with the State Law Enforcement Division helicopter. We were able to see a lot of evidence of damage throughout the county. It was a particularly good view of things because it's very easy for us now in the as one person described it to me, the fog and friction of war, for us to just see a few feet in front of us. But to be able to go up and see this from a county-wide perspective, it certainly showed a lot of damage, but it also gave a lot of hope, at least to me, to see how much of our county is already recovering, how much of our county retains its unique beauty, and how it gives us hope that the day will come when we will be able to close out this chapter, this challenge of our lives. But that aerial survey did show a good amount of damage countywide. I would say, for my own part, I was very aware of the damage in Dacusville, in Pumpkintown. I saw in Shady Grove Road, and then I heard from a subsequent flight that went out, they were able to see a good bit of damage along the Saluda. So we'll be very aware of those areas. That will help supplement the calls we're receiving, because now we know also visually areas where we maybe are not getting calls, but we can see the damage. So that was a very, very helpful flight. There have been many individual instances of challenge, of individual heroism, of good generosity, of graciousness to your neighbor in Pickens County. We're very proud to know that that's the nature of this community. I've already seen evidence, and I think you all have probably seen evidence as well in this community, where we are already starting to reach out to other communities around us, particularly folks in North Carolina, to try to help out there. So it shows something special and unique that I've always loved about this county, and that's the nature of its people. And so I'm sure that you've seen those things, and they're heartening to us all, particularly at a time when we feel these challenges. Knowing the importance of these individual stories, these individual actions, one thing that we're adding to our offerings out of our EOC and our county government is an opportunity for people to provide testimonials. What did they see? What have they done? What have they overcome since Hurricane Helene, the remnants, came through our community? We would invite everyone to go to pickenscountysc.gov and look on our website. There is a testimonials page where you can submit your testimonial information. Tell us your story so that we can make sure your story gets told, so people can know, the local authorities, the state authorities, the federal authorities can know the impact that happened in our community from this hurricane, something that we're not used to in our mountain community. And so we want to encourage people to go to the website and submit those testimonials. They're important. They're an important part as we educate the other resources of what Pickens County has experienced. So please look on the website for that. Otherwise, with these fine individuals here, this team that's come from around the state to help us, we'd be glad to answer any questions you might have.
How long will the call center be open for?
Right now, we're manning that until Friday afternoon at 6 p.m. We'll revisit at that time based on volume, whether we need to activate it for the following week. But we have that flexibility now that we know we have that capability up and going.
Okay.
How many people are you all expecting for the points of distribution, the water MRAs? Like, how many boxes of MRAs is a person guaranteed to if they have like 4 people in their family?
There is some information about the number of boxes you can get per day. Do either of y'all have that information?
You have the details on that, sir?
Depending on the point of distribution sites, it will either be between 1 or 2 boxes per vehicle, and then the water is adjusted based off of the needs of that individual site as well.
But it's a per day, as I understand. They can come back. Yeah. The other thing that's I think important about that is at the points of distribution, we're keeping data. So if one part of the community, we seem to have a lot more activity at our points of distribution than the others, that's part of the importance of getting the feedback from the citizens that come. We'll be able to do, for lack of a better term, a heat map on these points of distribution and see where we need more resources.
So do you all envision, if you get more people from one side than the other, to close a distribution point and open another one elsewhere?
Not necessarily at this time. I think it's important that we maintain that capability, at least in the short to medium term, because it may be that the challenge comes at different times in different areas. But we'll up resource where we need to.
And how long will those distribution points be open?
As long as they're needed.
I know last night that one of the things that you guys were able to talk about is you guys are able to continue response but move into recovery at some point. That was kind of the way you guys were able to frame that. You know, as the day has gone on, how do you guys feel that's coming along? You know, response-wise, are we getting more into the recovery phase? Or are we still kind of, you know, splitting the fence, I guess?
I would say from my point of view, and I welcome any of the folks behind me that are subject matter experts on this, I feel us at the pivot point. We are still responding. We are still knocking on doors. We're still doing well checks, things of that nature. But we are starting to talk about what the recovery is going to look like. We're starting to talk about what debris removal is going to look like. We're starting to talk about things like how long will we need to have these resources in place. And so I think we've got good expertise down in our Emergency Operations Center that is going to give us good guidance as we move forward on that. And so we will see. I do sense a pivot in our focus.
And you said earlier that you were not as fortunate as property damage. What kind of property damage are we talking about?
We don't have an estimate on that yet. Our assessor's office, a lot of folks don't know this, but the tax assessor's office is also taxed with not just assessing your property for that purpose. They are also tasked in these situations to going out and doing damage assessments. That's an important bit of information. They won't be out into the field until next week. That's on purpose. They're not going out until we know that we've got as much roads as possible clear and open so that they can go out and do their work. So we don't really even have an order of magnitude to give you on that right now. It's more anecdotal. It's what we're seeing when we're coming to the office. It's what we're seeing when we're going out into the community. And so we see a significant amount of property damage. I can tell you from the county asset standpoint, we've been very fortunate. We did not lose a single county vehicle due to the storm. We had one county vehicle that was damaged, but is still operational. And this is when we had trees falling down behind our emergency workers in some instances up in the mountains. And we were still able to get all of our assets, our most important human assets, but also our physical assets out. You'll see things when you go to the recycling centers. You'll see things if you go to the animal shelter. You'll see some awnings torn. You'll see some buildings defaced. But we came through really well. Our biggest challenge is going to be with some of the sewer plants. We're going to have to up some of our maintenance and advance some of the damage that's happened because to our sewer plants. They're all operational. Everything's working well, but we can tell that we've had some damage, particularly the one out at County Farm Road. We know that one's got some significant damage. So we'll undoubtedly still be discovering these things over the coming days and weeks as we move out of the crisis point back into the recovery point. We're going to discover things that aren't working, things that were damaged that we didn't know immediately. But right now we feel very, very fortunate.
For the 20 people who were rescued for flooding, do you know what areas they were rescued from?
I believe they were from the Laurel and Hardy community, which is up above Pumpkin Town. There were some of them from there, and then there was also a few people in the Shady Grove area on the western part of the county.
And just to clarify, 60% of the county has no power right now, correct?
But that's not right now. We believe at some point, at the peak, we had 60% without power. Okay. I know different agencies have given us different entities have given us feedback on where they stand. The last number I saw from Duke still had, I think, 14,000 of their customers without power. Blue Ridge Electric would have slightly less than that, so it's still a significant number of customers. A significant number of businesses that are still having to work. I can tell you that at least one of our libraries still doesn't. Our magistrate's court does not have power. I know that several of the schools do not have power, and the school district has been working the last few days trying to figure out when they might can bring those schools back online. So a good number of the public buildings are still without power.
Ken, I think as of this morning, they were saying about 30% of the community does.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Jamie. So making progress. We really appreciate those line workers. We really appreciate what our energy companies are doing. Appreciate the assets that have come in from around the Southeast. I see the trucks, and that's a good thing. Reassuring things for the folks that are, the folks like me that are, they have a generator that'll get them a pot of coffee. That's about what it'll do.
And I don't think the people at home heard her answer, so can you repeat that?
She said that the latest information she received, that's Jamie Burns, who's our community information manager. Sorry, I got that wrong again. Jamie Burns, she said the last information she received is that I think she said 30% of the Pickens County public is still without power.
Are county offices reopened yet?
County offices were closed on Friday, but they reopened at the regular time on Monday. We're making out allowance for those folks that are still not able to travel, and we're being as flexible as we can with the folks that still don't have the things like showers at home, or they have children at home that are not in school. We're trying to be as adaptable as we can, but we feel like our work here is essential, and so for everyone in the county, we're trying to demonstrate that. There are things that are just happening because of the calendar. For example, the delinquent tax sale schedule for next Tuesday. Those folks have to come in and be prepared for that. That's a function of government that has to occur. So there's some things that might not seem like emergency response. They may not seem like essential workers, but from my standpoint, I see any public servants that work here, we're essential, and we want to demonstrate our value to the community.
You kind of hit it on earlier, but especially as this storm has been so unprecedented and, all hands on deck. Talk a little bit about the connection that you guys, from a county standpoint, have been able to have with your municipalities, and working together kind of restore things.
Yeah, I will tell you that I've been very impressed with the municipalities, the way that they've approached this. The City of Liberty thinking about laundry and getting to where they could do, I think it's 20 or 30 loads of laundry for folks a day at the city gym. They're thinking about these things that maybe us on the county level, we weren't really thinking about. The city of Easley's done some great things with opening up J.B. Red Owens when they can to try to give people the gym there, to try to give people a place to go just to be in the warmth and be in the AC, or as the case may be, get a cup of coffee and recharge their batteries. I think that you'll see more and more coordination. Just before I came up here, I had a conversation with a City of Pickens employee about us coordinating our response with our federal resources. Is there a way that we can coordinate what we're doing to where we're not duplicating efforts? Let's try to get some subject matter experts, and let's all take advantage of them. And I offered on the county's part for the county to host those types of things and allow the cities to participate to the extent that they deem appropriate.
And we spoke to a couple of people that were out there for the points of distribution for the water MREs. They're saying they're having trouble at the grocery store finding what they need. How long do you think that's going to last?
I wonder myself. I'm a very loyal shopper to some brands, and so when you go into a grocery store and you see the empty shelves, it does worry you. I do know that our distribution systems are healthy. So the things that you might see in an individual grocery store are that they're in an individual grocery store. The supply chain itself is very healthy and is working great. So although we may have a day or two of something like that, I would be surprised if those shortages went very long. I think we get into next week and we're going to see that the specific kind of sliced American cheese I like will be back on those shelves. All right. Thank you all. Thank you.
And you have been listening to an update from leaders in Pickens County, officials sharing that they have now set up a non-emergency call center. We're seeing a lot of counties in our area do this to try to alleviate some of the phone calls going into 911. In Pickens County, the non-emergency number that officials want you to call is 864-774-9743. This is for people with general non-emergency questions and storm-related questions. Again, people are asked to call this instead instead of 911. A few other updates that we got this afternoon from officials in Pickens County. They say about 30% of Pickens County is still without power at this time. Officials also shared that they are very thankful that there have been no fatalities or major injuries in Pickens County. Also, people who need water and meals in Pickens County can go to the Dacusville Fire Department, Pickens County Maintenance Complex, and Clemson University. Those places are open from 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. Also, a pet-friendly shelter is at Glenwood Baptist Church in Easley, and there are also charging stations available at 5 Point Church, Pickens Recreation Center, Liberty Recreation Center, and Easley Fire Station 2. If you would like to help your community, the Red Cross wants you to look at this QR code. You can scan it and you can donate financially. You can also donate your time, and you could also donate your blood. And you can find more information about helping storm victims on WYFF4.com and also our mobile app.